All right, guys, welcome back to Blitz Creek. It's week 12, but it's week 1 of Virginia high school playoffs.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Josh is pumped.
I am ready.
All right, so with all that being said, wasn't a lot. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Appa Bag Works. Again, it's getting that time of the year. Alex is standing over here. I hope he gets his wife something nice for Christmas. And if he hasn't, he can go to Appa Bag Works, get some leather works for her. A nice wristlet or a bag. Check them out at Bohemian Gray. They only have wristlets up there. So if you're looking when you go in, they're on the right on the wall. Check them out. He doesn't have the new prints up there. They're all the bird print. So if you want the new stuff, go to Instagram, check it out. I'll take you to his webpage. Andrew Scruggs, attorney at law. He's out of Bluefield, Virginia. If you need anything criminal, give him a call. He'd be more than glad to help you out. And of course, the one that's been with us through and through, Old Town Barbershop. He's got the belt. That's why our sponsor is better than your sponsor. It's just true. I mean, he's got a belt. He can take you in a fight, too.
He can definitely take you in a fight.
All right. Do we have any hot takes from last week?
I think the hot take is Lee pulling out a W against Abingdon. So whatever anyone thought about what was going to happen in 2A was a moot point because Lee pulls out the win. And then on top of that, Abingdon still makes it into the 3A playoffs. So even with all of that happening, still wild that Lee can play the way they did against Battle and then play the way they did against Abingdon. And I don't know if that's because of the rain and everything that happened on Friday night.
Was that final 28-27?
Mm-hmm. So I just think, who are the Lee Generals or who's Abingdon? I don't think either one of those teams know who they are, which doesn't bode well for this week.
No. And we have said all year on this podcast, the tight end that's going to Chapel Hill. Well, I texted Josh yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He's flipped. He's now going from Chapel Hill to Morgantown. So either which way it goes, it's still good for me. Don't care.
You're happy either way.
Happy either way. Glad to have you in Chapel Hill or in Morgantown. If you want to flip to Liberty, I'll take you there too. That's the alma mater.
All right.
My hot take is Salem. 5-5 misses the playoffs for the first time since 2003.
Yep, 22 years. Salem did everything they could to get into the playoffs late in the season, but they did everything they could to destroy their chances early in the season.
Yeah.
They started out 1-5 and ran the table at the end, but to no avail. Just didn't get it done this year for the first time in a long time.
No.
That's a big deal.
So before we go into the playoff picture, is there an upset that you think might happen in the first round?
I think it would just depend on what you consider an upset. Does Lebanon have the opportunity to beat Virginia High? They do, but they have to prove that.
Right.
I mean, they got on track against Tazewell, but it's almost like that game was kind of tight, and then there's a delay in the Tazewell game. Everyone sees what's going on in Lee, and it's like, oh, well, everything's over with now. So
right,
it turns into just a debacle. So I think that there's an opportunity there. The interesting thing is the 4-5 matchup and what you're going to talk about percentage-wise and everything. I really felt like Gate City had a chance to beat Ridgeview. Instead, Gate City is traveling to Richlands to play the Graham Genie. So.
Correct. All right. Leading into that segue, we've said all year that there's one team that was right there at the bottom, not named Graham, that you might not want to see early in the playoffs. And that is this game. You have the 6-seed Lebanon, really. The 7-seed Richlands Blue Tornado will travel to Dickinson County to take on Ridgeview, the Wolfpack. This one could be scary.
I mean, it could be scary. It just depends on which Richlands team decides to show up. It's unbelievable to think what happened with Richlands and Graham to a certain extent when you think about the way Richlands played early in the season and the way Richlands was able to get a couple wins. Now, early in the season, we probably talked about Richlands too much, given the fact that we thought Abingdon was a little better than what they were.
Right.
And Abingdon turned out to be a sub 500 football team that barely makes it into the playoffs in 3A, and how that happened. You know, there's a lot of other games that had to go their way for that to happen. But I think mid-season we would have talked about this game, or I would have talked about this game in a different way, given the fact that how Richlands is kind of finished, kind of up and down, maybe scoring just 35 points against Grundy in a shutout wasn't just them calling the dogs off because of the last time that they were ever going to play and showing some class. Maybe that was just because they were struggling at that point. I mean, Grundy's not a very good football team, and felt like Richland should have beat them a whole lot more than what they did. Ridgeview, playing at Ridgeview's tough. It's a 7 to 10 point, swing, and I think that just the fact that they played as well as they did against Gate City, given the weather and given everything that was going on, I felt like the weather might be a great equalizer for Gate City, just because Gate City tends to, they can pound the ball a little bit and they don't have to worry about chucking it. But, that didn't happen. Ridgeview is certainly asserted themselves as the number 2 team in the region, although Graham may have some say in that, given the fact the way they finished the regular season. But in this one, I'd like to give Richlands a better shot at this, but I think it's a 2-score football game. I like Ridgeview 35, Richlands 21.
Okay, so we talked about the Abingdon Lee game. Lee coming out 28-27. Let's go back 2 weeks ago when Abingdon almost upsets Ridgeview, if you want to call that an upset. That was a close game. It was like 17-14 at one point in time. Ridgeview, I think, is a really good football team. They know their identity, but what's happened here at the end? I want to put you on upset alert on this one. I think Richlands could pull this one out. But on my opinion, I think Ridgeview wins this one 21-17.
Low scoring? It may be low scoring. Who knows at this point on which offense is going to show up. I mean, Richlands did put the ball in the end zone against Graham.
They did.
Hadn't happened very often, so.
That was 59-12. No, that was us, 59-0. It was what?
56-12?
Yeah, 56-12, so.
Something like that. It was bad.
So in the percentages, and again, I use a guy, he's from Marion. I don't have his name, but give that guy some credit, some kudos that he does all this work, and we give it to you out here. He's got this game at 95%, 40-14 Ridgeview. So, all right, let's move into the other one that I was getting ready to give you, the 6th seed, the Pioneers. How do you go from a 2 seed mid-season to a 6 seed? But the 6 seed Pioneers take on the number 3 seed Virginia High Bearcats in Bristol on a Friday night.
So Lebanon has done Lebanon things. They did. You want to say they righted the ship a little bit against Tazewell, but it was against Tazewell, and
Right.
It was like Tazewell just gave up the ghost at the end of that game. I think that this is an interesting game if it were played at Lebanon, but it's not. It's in Bristol. What's going on? It's played in Bristol. So Virginia High beats Lebanon to death.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Virginia High, and I can't go back a couple of years, but last year Virginia High beat Lebanon twice. Now they beat them again in the regular season. Now they're going to play them again in the first round of the playoffs, just like they did last year. And I just don't see it being any different.
No.
Lebanon will have to prove to me that they can beat someone of substance, not just all their Hoga-Higi schools that they play and not just Tazewell. I don't think that happens. Virginia High continues to roll and will play in a big game at Ridgeview, in my opinion,
Right.
next week, because Virginia High wins 35-17.
Again, we don't talk about these scores. The only thing we got wrote down is what comes off this paper. Yeah, I don't think anything changes here. I think V-High wins this one in Bristol, 35-14. I was going to say 17. I don't want to give the same scores. So there we go. Prediction here is 74%, 31-21 Bearcats. Can't argue with it.
Nope, cannot argue with that score.
Friday night. I don't know why we didn't make this one a Saturday game at home. But Friday night, down the road in Richlands, at home, I guess, you have Gate City, the Blue Devils, who are up and down, taking on the Graham G-Men, who are on fire.
Right, so Gate City's up and down at the end of the season. Graham is up and down throughout the season. First part of the season down, last part of the season on fire, just like you said. And beforehand, I would have thought that this would have been a really close game, but there's a part of me that thinks that Graham's just going to blow everybody out, no matter who they play, until they get to Union.
Right.
Which is going to be next week, maybe.
Maybe.
If they can pull this win out. Graham just, I don't understand why Graham looks the way they do now, and maybe it's some scheduling. I mean, they played a tough front half of the schedule, but it's hard for me to comprehend that they can play the way they did in the first half of the season and then play the way they have in the second half of the season. I know the turning point for their season probably was the Princeton game, where they played really, really good against Princeton, even though that final score was 33-14.
Right. Yeah, you had
like
the fumble on the one that would have tied it up 14-all, and that changed the
that
game.
changed everything for Graham. But I also don't know why Graham decided to play at Richlands and not at Tazewell. One, because it'd make Gate City travel a little bit further. And two, Gate City's already played at Richlands. They played at Richlands early in the
Second
season.
game of the season.
So if they play at Tazewell, at least it's a different field for them to play on. And Graham's already played at Tazewell. So I would have wanted Gate City to play in a totally different place, not a place that they go to on a regular basis, and make them travel a little bit further. But, Graham may sit there and say, we've scored, over 110 points at Ernie Hicks Stadium, so we're just going to keep rolling there. We played there last week. We'll just play there again this week. I do think that if Gate City can at least neutralize the line of scrimmage, I don't think they have to necessarily win the line of scrimmage, but if they can kind of neutralize it and play ball control offense, that they do have a shot in this. But I still think Graham comes out victorious. Graham, they've scored so many points. Graham, 49. Gate City, 20.
I mean, when you look at the Graham Union game early, they just ran on them. I don't know if that's going to happen this go around if we get there. But Gate City was 21-21, 14-14 with them at half, and then Union
14-14.
pulled away. So they leaned on them, got them tired. Whatever happened, I mean, we're going to talk about Bluefield in just a minute. Bluefield's a 2 seed in West Virginia. Not a shabby team. Union, not a shabby team. Princeton is the number 1 team in West Virginia, but they're a number 2 seed in the playoffs. Don't understand that. So we're talking about top-tier teams they lost to early. They really wanted that Galax game to get back on track, get some good mojo. What would have happened then? I've liked Gate City all year. but not here. 42-14 G-Man-Roll.
Yep.
Prediction here, as Josh said, you look at some of these predictions. This is a 4-5 matchup, and they have this at 90% Graham, 38-17.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see 90% next to a 4-5 matchup when the 3-6 matchup's just 74%.
Mm-hmm. So now we move into our last Friday night game in the Southwest Mountain 7, and that's Lee, the 8 seed, coming off of a win against Abingdon to take on Union, the Bears at Bullet Park.
Yeah, so they played at the beginning of the season, and now they're going to play at the end of Lee's season.
It wasn't pretty then.
I don't think it's any different. I'd like to go on and on about what Lee may be able to do, but they're not. I like Union in this one. Big, 49-0. A repeat of week 1.
So we thought Union would take it easy on Battle, and they put 60-some points on Battle.
They did.
They didn't stop. Whether they listen to this podcast or not, they were like, nope, we're not doing that. I don't think they do it against Lee. Lee loses the Battle, and I think this game will be just as ugly, 65-0.
Ooh, all right.
Prediction has this game 99% Union. We all agree with that. 52-3. I don't know if they have a kicking game because they were going for 2. So
they may have been going for 2 because of the weather.
Now we move into AAA on the Mountain 7 side to give you the update on Abington. Abington, the 8 seed, will travel across Lover's Gap, Lover's Leap, whatever it's called, into Magna Vista. Take on whatever their name is. Aren't they the Devils?
No, they're like the Knights, something like that. But they'll head all the way down to Ridgeway. Pretty sure it's Ridgeway, and that's a long trip. I remember having to travel to some Piedmont schools back in the day, and I'm traveling all the way down to that Martinsville area. It's a long way down there. And it's going to be a long ride home for Abingdon. Abingdon's just not playing well. They haven't played well all year, and they may be looking towards basketball season. I think that's what's happening. Magna Vista is really good. They've scored a ton of points this year. I don't think that's any different. I like Magna Vista 42, Abingdon 14.
And they're the Warriors. Just looked it up for you. So we like Abingdon. But in this area, they are a bigger team. Magna Vista is a huge team. Magna Vista rolls. I don't even know what he just said because I was looking it up. 42. That's what I was going to say. So 42-7. There you go. 42-7. This has it at 98%, 48-13 Warriors. Before we move into anything else, anything you want to add?
Well, I think it's, if you look at the playoff brackets throughout 2A,
we can go over those.
There's some interesting games that are going to be played over in B and in A.
So in A, you have Armstrong and Nottoway.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Jefferson, who you mentioned earlier in the podcast against King Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Pocosin, Greenville. Lunenburg, Central, and Southampton.
Right, and I think that TJ King William game is going to be really interesting to see what happens there. I think TJ plays better, but then they get Armstrong in the second round. And the outlier throughout the state of Virginia is Pocosin, 9-1, finished number 2 in Region A. And we'll see maybe a Pocosin Armstrong region championship game.
And then in 2B, Strasburg, they have a bye. Central Woodstock taking on Fort Defiance. Buckingham has a bye. Stewart's Draft, Madison is your 2B. Then we go into 2C, which really is focused on us. Glenvar, the number 1 seed. We've talked about them a little bit, taking on Nelson County. Radford taking on Appomattox. Gretna taking on Dan River. and Floyd County taking on James River.
Be fun playoffs.
All right, so let's talk a little bit really quick. For everybody who listens, if we have any West Virginia listeners, your 2 seed Bluefield Beavers will take on the 15 seed Oak Glen. I don't know much about this.
I don't know much about Oak Glen, but I know a lot about Princeton. And Princeton has been incredible all year. They've been incredible for the past 3 years. They lucked out and everything got reclassified in West Virginia, and they pumped in a 4A classification, which you would have thought would have helped Princeton, given the fact that they played Martinsburg the year before in the state championship game, and then they get caught by Herbert Hoover last year. Princeton's gonna work. Or no, sorry, we're talking about
Bluefield. No, it's all good.
I know about Bluefield. Don't know about Oak Glen. Bluefield has played very well all year long, even starting out the season against Graham, and we know what Graham has become. I think that Bluefield rolls in this one at Mitchell Stadium, the home of the Beavers.
That's right.
And I think they win. I can give a prediction. I'll say 28-0.
I like the Beavers in this. I don't know much about Oak Glen. I like their name. So I'm going to give them a little bit more of a credit than he did. I'm going to say this game's 28-24 Bluefield, just because of the name. And when I say that, Kettle Run is the number 1 seed in their bracket. So there you go.
3A.
Now, let's move into what he was talking about. He knows about Princeton, and Princeton, the number 2 seed, is taking on number 15, Hampshire Romney. I don't know why we have that in there, but they do.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to repeat what I said before. Princeton is really good, and they're playing basically a sub-500 football team, and they're playing them at home. Princeton rolls in this one, and they score a lot of points. I'll say 49-12.
Yeah, I like Princeton in this one, and I like the prediction here, 56-14. The prediction has this at 99%, 56-13. The prediction on Bluefield was 94%, 31-7. And if you're like, well, what's this up with Princeton? Somehow Bridgeport got the number 1 seed. And if you look at some of the ways that they put that in there, you'll have some 6-4 teams that'll be a 4 seed, and you'll have some teams that are 7-3 getting a 15 seed. I don't know how they do their seeding. It's weird, but Princeton's really good.
Yes, they are.
And ever since I have met my lovely wife and I have followed high school football, the Man Hillbillies make the playoffs in single A, and they're a 15 seed. So good luck to you, man, but you ain't going to do well. So just had to throw that out there. Now we really quick will hit Tennessee. For our listeners, Union, that area, Abingdon, you've got Blackman taking on Dobbins-Bennett.
So DB gets a win in the first round of the playoffs because they started last week.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee I got beat down at Halls. But DB's in it, second round. And when you get to the second round in 6A in Tennessee, it gets serious. And Blackman is around the Nashville area, and they are perennially one of the best high school football teams in the state of Tennessee, bar none. So this doesn't bode well for a Dobbins-Bennett team who has played well at times, but still an anomalous game against Gate City early in the season. We'll see what DB can do when they travel all the way to Blackman.
They've got this game at 88%. So I don't know much about that to give a score, but they're saying Blackman's going to beat the crap out of them. So hope not. We'd like to see close teams do well. So Kingsport, Dobbins-Bennett, we wish you luck. Then we go over to Green Hill taking on Science Hill.
So Science Hill, one of the biggest schools in Tennessee, has to play Green Hill, and Green Hill is kind of an up-and-coming football team in Tennessee. I don't know much about how their season went, but obviously it went pretty well. They're a really good football team based on their schedule. I'll take Green Hill in that one, but Science Hill Science Hill kind of, every time they get to the second round of the playoffs, they kind of get stoned by all the schools either in Knoxville proper or in Nashville. So I think this is another case of that happening. And I hope Science Hill does win, but may not happen. May not happen in this one. These are big schools playing big football.
And for all of you Richlands fans, down in South Carolina, second round of the playoffs as well, Loris High is taking on Orangeburg Wilkinson.
Yeah, Wilkinson.
Wilkinson, there you go.
So Orangeburg, it's down in the south part of the state, south of Columbia on 95. Loris, hey, they're poised to make another run here, so we'll see what happens. They're predicted to win, so I don't know much about the South Carolina area. I just know where they are.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are, but
Green Hill was 87% to win that. Loris is 87% as well. So there's your rundown of some playoffs. Really quick, if you want to know Class Single A. On the other side, you have Essex, who's the number 1 seed in Region 1A. Region 1B is Alta Vista, with the second seed sitting as Riverheads. In 1C, you got Giles taking on Auburn, George Wythe taking on Narrows, Craig County taking on Bath, Grayson County taking on Perry McClure. And normally we pick these, but we're in a time constraint today. 1D, Eastside taking on Royal Retreat. Could be an intriguing game, but Eastside's rolling. Honeacre taking on Northwood. I like the Tigers in that one, but go Panthers. Chilhowie taking on Twin Springs. And Holston hosting Rock Cove. No, Rock Cove hosting Holston.
yes.
Any take on Single A?
Well, I thought it was interesting that Giles pulled out the 1 seed. They did. They won their last game, and there might be a rematch with Giles and Narrows in the second round.
Yep.
So we'll see how 1C goes. That'd be a fun second round game to go watch. Giles and Narrows. Doesn't get more rivalry than that.
You would hope that would be played on Friday night, because there may be an intriguing game at Bullitt Park on Saturday.
Oh yes, very much so. Second round matchups, big second round matchups that could possibly happen. So
Now, where are you going to eat on Friday night?
Cousins.
I'm going to the Blue Moose because I won't be here.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So, he's going to Cousins. I'm going to the Moose. And as the barter always says, and so does Blitz Creek, if you like us, talk about us. If you don't, then keep your mouth shut.
Go Vols.
Go Flames.